I am 73 years old, and I am eating dinner alone at a table built for 6. The table is rosewood, imported, polished so well I can see my own reflection in the surface when the light hits it right. And tonight the light is hitting it right, and the reflection looking back at me is an old man with 1 plate, 1 glass, and 5 empty chairs arranged around him like an audience that never showed up. The dining room is large, tastefully decorated, my wife's taste, not mine. I paid for it, she chose it. Cream curtains, a painting of a village scene on the far wall, a small brass lamp on the sideboard that nobody lights anymore. The room is well lit and well furnished and completely, absolutely silent except for one sound, my spoon touching the steel thali, that small metallic clink, and the echo. The echo travels, bounces off the marble floor, hits the walls, comes back to me like a sound that can't find anyone else to land on. The kitchen smells like something expensive. Ghee, hing, fresh jeera tadka crackling in a pan. The cook prepared the meal, a woman who comes at 6, cooks for 45 minutes, covers the pots, and leaves by 7. She doesn't eat here. She doesn't sit here. She makes the food, wipes the counter, says Auntie ka khana rakh diya hai, out of habit. She still says Auntie, even though Auntie has been gone for 18 months, and then she's out the door. And I'm left with a hot meal, a polished table, and the loudest silence I've ever heard. 1 plate, steel thali, dal, rice, a sabzi, lauki I think, or maybe tarai, and a piece of roti, a glass of water, 1 spoon. The food is good. The food is always good. Money buys good food. Money buys good tables and good cooks and good marble floors that echo beautifully when there's no one around to absorb the sound. I built everything a man is supposed to build: a business, a house, a reputation, a bank balance, and every evening the only sound at dinner time is a spoon hitting steel and an echo that reminds me the room is empty. Let me tell you about the lie, because it was a beautiful lie. It was the kind of lie that wins awards and earns respect and gets printed on motivational posters. It's the lie that built this table. The lie. Once I make enough money, everything else will follow. I was a businessman. Textiles. Started in Surat with a 2-room office and a phone that rang more than it should have, and a belief, deep, unshakable, welded into my bones, that money was the answer to every question. If my wife was unhappy, the answer was a bigger house. If my children were distant, the answer was a better school. If guilt was building in my chest from another missed dinner, another canceled weekend, another birthday I attended for 20 minutes before taking a call in the hallway, the answer was a gift, a necklace, a trip, a dining table made of rosewood, imported, because I could, because buying expensive things for my family was easier than being with my family. The factory smelled like fabric dye and the sheen oil. That was my perfume. That was the scent I carried home at 11 p.m. when the house was dark and the food was cold and my wife had already eaten alone and put the children to bed. I'd reheat the roti on the gas, eat standing at the counter, check my phone, go to sleep, wake up, do it again. 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, for decades. I was present at every bank meeting, absent at every dinner. I knew my account manager's birthday, but forgot my daughter's school function. I knew the price of cotton per kilo in 3 different markets, but didn't know what subject my son was failing in until his teacher called my wife. Not me, never me, because even the school knew I wasn't the parent who was available. I bought my wife jewelry instead of giving her evenings. Gold bangles, diamond earrings. Each piece was a receipt for guilt, a transaction I completed to settle the debt of another missed dinner, another empty chair. She wore them. She wore them the way a woman wears something she didn't ask for, gracefully, without complaint, without the joy the giver expects. I sent my children to the best schools, English medium, AC classrooms, international curriculum. I paid fees that would make most families choke, but I never sat with their homework, never asked what they studied, never walked into a parent-teacher meeting without checking my watch within the first 5 minutes. I built this dining table, 6 chairs, rosewood, carved backs, cost more than my father earned in 2 years. I bought it because I could, not because 6 people would ever sit at it together. I confused provision with presence. I confused luxury with love. And my family, my wife, my children, they adjusted. They adapted. They built a life that functioned without me at the table, because I was never at the table, and you can't keep setting a place for someone who never sits down. Adjustment and adaptation look like acceptance from the outside. They look like a family that's fine. They're not. They're the quiet construction of a life that no longer needs you. Now let me tell you about the evening that should have been a celebration. I need you to smell the food and see the candles and feel the particular weight of a table set for 6 when only 2 people show up. 4 years ago, my retirement dinner, I planned it myself, at home. I wanted it here, at this table, in this dining room, with my family around me. The final dinner, the one that would mark the beginning of the rest I'd promised everyone was coming. Once I retire, I'll be here. Once I retire, we'll eat together. Once I retire, everything will change. I hired a caterer, good one, paneer butter masala, pulao, dal makhani, raita, gulab jamun for dessert, the works, the kind of spread you put out when you want the table to say something, when you want the food to announce, this matters, this evening matters. I set the table myself, 6 plates, 6 glasses, 6 napkins. My wife had folded them into triangles, the way she saw in a magazine once, the way she did for special occasions. She placed candles in the center, 2 small diyas in brass holders, the flames bending slightly from the fan overhead. I called my son in Mumbai, personally, not a text, a phone call. I said, I'm retiring. I want everyone here for dinner, Sunday evening. He said, I'll try to make it, Papa. I should have heard it in those words, the try. Try is not a yes. Try is the polite cousin of no. Try is the word you use when you've already decided not to come, but want to leave yourself room to cancel without guilt. I called my daughter in Bangalore. Same invitation. She said the flights were expensive this time of year. I said I'd pay. She said, "Let me check with Rahul and get back." She didn't get back. Not that day. Not the next. Sunday evening arrived. The food was laid out. The caterer had arranged everything on the sideboard. Steel serving dishes with lids, the steam rising when you lifted them, the dining room thick with the smell of ghee and roasted cumin and paneer simmering in tomato gravy. The table was set, 6 places, candles lit. The brass diyas flickered in the slight draft from the window. My wife was there. She sat in her chair, the one to my left, the same chair she'd sat in for 30 years. She was wearing a cotton sari, nothing fancy, because she'd stopped wearing fancy for me long ago. She looked tired, not physically, existentially. The tiredness of a woman who has attended too many empty tables to be surprised by another one. We waited. 7 o'clock. The food steamed. The candles burned. The doorbell didn't ring. At 7 p.m. my phone buzzed. A text from my son. "Stuck in work. Sorry, Papa. Happy retirement." Stuck in work. The same excuse I gave his mother for 30 years. The exact same words, recycled, handed down from father to son like an heirloom nobody wanted. At 7:30 my daughter called. Her voice was warm. She was always warm. "Congratulations, Papa. I'm so proud of you. We'll celebrate next time you visit, okay? Rahul sends his love." 5 sentences, 45 seconds. The conversation you have with a distant relative, not a father. I put the phone down on the table. My wife was already eating, slowly, quietly, without looking at me. She wasn't angry. She wasn't sad. Her face had an expression I'd seen before, but never truly understood until that moment. It was familiarity. The expression of a woman who has been eating at a half-empty table for 30 years, who set 6 plates and expected 2, who lit candles knowing most of them would burn out before the chairs were filled. She wasn't surprised. She was confirmed. We ate in silence. The paneer was excellent. The pulao was fragrant. The gulab jamun was sweet. The food was perfect. The table was set. The candles glowed. And 2 people sat in a room designed for 6, eating a meal prepared for a celebration that nobody else attended. The caterer came to collect the dishes later that night. He packed the leftover food, enough for 4 people who didn't come, into plastic containers. He stacked them neatly in the refrigerator. "For tomorrow, sir," he said. I ate retirement dinner leftovers for 3 days. Each reheated plate was a reminder. That was 4 years ago. 2.5 years after that dinner, my wife had a stroke, in the kitchen, near the stove. She was making chai, not because we needed her to. We had a cook. She made it because she always made it, because routine was the scaffolding that held her together after a marriage that provided marble floors and rosewood tables, and everything in the world except the one thing she actually wanted, someone sitting across from her at dinner. She was gone before the chai boiled over. Now it's just me. The table seats 6, 1 plate, 1 glass, 1 spoon. The cook comes, cooks, leaves. I eat at the head of the table, the same spot, every night. Same chair, same position. The head of the table, the seat of authority, the position I fought to earn and now sit in alone, presiding over an empire of 5 empty chairs. My son calls on Sundays, 5 minutes. How are you, Papa? Fine. Eating well? Yes. Okay, take care. Click. My daughter calls every 2 weeks. Warmer, longer. 7 minutes, maybe 8. She asks about my knees, my blood pressure, whether the cook is still coming. Polite, caring, scheduled. The way you care for someone you love from a distance, reliably, consistently, without ever closing the distance. A visit on Diwali, sometimes holy. They come with their families. The chairs fill for 2 days. The table is loud. Children run through the dining room. Food is passed. Laughter bounces off the walls I usually eat in silence against. And then they leave. The suitcases roll out. The door closes. And the table goes quiet again. 6 chairs. 5 pushed in. 1 pulled out. 1 plate in the sink. I've thought about buying a smaller table, a 2-seater, something sensible for a man who eats alone. I can't do it, because this table is proof that I once believed 6 people would sit here, proof that I built something meant for a family, proof that the family exists, even if it doesn't gather. Selling the table would be admitting that the 6-seat dream is over. I'm not ready for that. Even though the dream has been over for years. The chairs stay pushed in. The plates stay in the cabinet. The dining room echoes. I earned every rupee. I retired rich. And the richest man in this building, the man with the rosewood table and the brass diyas and the marble floor, eats dal chawal alone every night, while his neighbors on the floor below, a family of 4 in a 2-bedroom flat with a kitchen so small their elbows touch, eat together every evening. I can hear them sometimes through the floor, laughing, arguing, clattering plates, the sounds of a family that has nothing I have, except each other. Now I'm talking to you. You're working late right now, aren't you? You're at the office, or you're on your laptop, or you're in the car coming home after everyone's already eaten. You're telling yourself 1 more year, 1 more deal, 1 more promotion, 1 more target. Then you'll sit with your family. Then you'll eat together. Then you'll be present. You won't, because then never comes. Then is the retirement dinner where nobody shows up. Then is the rosewood table with 5 empty chairs. Then is a lie you tell yourself so you can keep working tonight without feeling guilty about the dal going cold on the table where your wife is sitting alone. Go home, tonight, not tomorrow, tonight. Sit at the table, eat the dal, even if it's not fancy. Eat the rice, even if it's from the cooker, and the sabzi is just aloo. Let your elbows touch in a small kitchen. Let the children interrupt. Let the roti burn a little because someone told a joke and nobody was watching the tawa. Don't build a bigger table. Fill the one you have. I have a dining table that costs more than most people's weddings. 6 chairs, rosewood, imported, polished every week by a woman who is paid to maintain a table nobody uses. And every night I sit at the head of it with one plate, one glass, and a silence so deep I can hear my own chewing echo off the walls. Go home, sit down, eat with someone, because the meal doesn't matter, the menu doesn't matter, the money doesn't matter. What matters is that when you look up from your plate, there's a face looking back. I look up every night, and the only thing looking back at me is an empty chair and a reflection in the polished wood of a man who built everything except the one thing a table is actually for.